Ladies and gentlemen, Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of abundance and joy. If I can do it, you sure as hell can too. Wow, what a fabulous introduction. So, this is going to be a pretty casual episode. I want to talk about an idea that's sort of been bouncing around in my head, and that a friend of mine, my good friend Saeed, gave this idea to me. And I kind of wanted to like flesh it out into a podcast, but sometimes in the process of coming up with content ideas for this and my podcast, I will put this pressure on myself that I have to like make it a perfect freaking episode. And I was doing that with this a little bit, but I thought, fuck it. Let's just sit down and have a casual chat and see where this goes. Okay. So the general idea of this video is going to be, or the title is your addiction to romance killing your relationship? And this doesn't just apply to relationships. I guess you could apply it to dating, to sex in general, casual relationships, and all of that. But my friend Saeed and I were talking, and we were just talking about how people have this fascination or this obsession. It's more of an obsession with the idea of like the one or a soulmate, or that every single moment in a relationship, and even just a casual relationship, has to be this like fireworks and this magic and like all of this amazing, beautiful stuff. And, I've been in my relationship with Imogen for about 6 years now. And before that, I was in a relationship that wasn't a particularly happy relationship, but I was in that one for 4 years. And then before that, I was in a relationship for 5 years, which again wasn't a happy relationship. So I've had some happy relationships. I've had some unhappy ones. I've seen what works, at least for me and the people that I'm with. I've seen what doesn't work, at least for me and the people that I'm with. And something that I see coming up time and time again with people that are maybe new to a relationship or haven't been in a very long-term relationship. And again, my relationship is 6 years at this point, but there's people who are in relationships for decades. And speaking to quite a lot of them, because I love to pick people's brains and see what's working for them and what's not working for them, something that comes up a hell of a lot time and time again when it comes to a successful, happy, long-term relationship is this idea of like respect, or this idea of like communication, and that not every moment is going to be fireworks and soulmates and the one and all of that. And not that that means that a relationship has to be unhappy. No, I don't believe that that's the case. It's certainly not the case with Imogen and I. It was at the start, and we're now at a point where, yeah, we're happy basically every single day. Why wouldn't we be happy? If we're unhappy, we'll fix that problem and we'll solve it and we'll come up with a solution. But most relationships that I see and people that I've talked to, and what I've noticed in my own relationship, is if you want something long term, you sort of embrace the idea that the other person and you yourself are human beings. And that means that sometimes you're going to be grumpy. Sometimes you're going to be a little unhappy. Sometimes it's not going to be fireworks and romance and, like the Notebook movie where it's all romance and it's amazing. And sometimes it's just normal. It's just you with another human being, and you're just going about your lives and you're growing together and you're evolving and you're trying to do the best you can and they're trying to do the best they can. You're trying to grow the relationship and build something because people love progress and they love building things. Nobody really gets into a relationship thinking, okay, some people do, but the vast majority of people don't get into a relationship thinking, I don't want this to improve. I don't want this to grow. I want this to just stay the same. Again, I said some people do feel like that, but I think most people have a concept, if they're in a long-term or they're wanting a long-term relationship, they understand that they want to build something. That's the point of the relationship. And that stuff isn't always necessarily glamorous. The same way that building any of your goals or working towards your self-improvement and achieving goals and success and stuff like that, it's not always glamorous. Like all the stuff that I've done. You might say, wow, you've had threesomes. Your girlfriend, you and Imogen are in an open relationship and you do BDSM together and you do all this kinky stuff. Wow, that must be so interesting. That's so cool. That's so fun. That's not 99% of our lives. 99% of our lives is just showing up and being present and enjoying that and all of that. But it's not necessarily chasing the highs or that glamorous shit. We don't have a threesome every single day. I'm not making all this money every single day. It's not like every single day we're doing something amazing and glamorous. Now, you can find ways to be incredibly grateful for every day. You can find ways to be incredibly present, and that's a big part of peace and happiness. But the point is, it's not always fireworks and excitement and crazy over-the-top romance or dopamine, excitement. But a lot of people put all this pressure on a relationship, and I guess on themselves as well, but especially on their partner in a relationship, that every day has to somehow magically just be glamorous and exciting and so fireworksy and romantic, and we have to have these just peak moments in every single day. And it's like, how would that even be possible? You would have to keep one-upping yourself, and you would have to make every day even more romantic or more exciting than the previous one. And yeah, that's possible, but I've just come to see that the vast majority of people in a long-term relationship, that's not even what you want. Like, you don't want every day to be this like The Notebook style romance, over the top fireworks explosions. That can be lovely once in a while, but if you're trying to hit that every single day, what's left for just the quiet, beautiful moments with your partner or with yourself? What's left for working towards your goals? If you're so hyper focused on hitting that peak every single day, you can forget about the beauty, or you can maybe miss the beauty in the quieter moments. And I think, like I said, a lot of people expect that every single millisecond of a relationship has to be this like amazing, glamorous, crazy, over the top experience, instead of them kind of like seeing a relationship as just like any other goal, something that you slowly work on and you slowly improve and you build and you make it 1% better every week, and you get in there and you do accountability check-ins like Imogen and I do. Maybe you have a date night if that's something that you want to do, but you get in there and you build something together and you grow together and you evolve and you be there for their goals and they're there for your goals and you build something together. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is I think a lot of people put this pressure on themselves with a relationship that it has to be this like finished, complete, exciting project, like exciting product, rather than a project that you build. They want the mansion that's already complete, rather than, okay, let's get the tools out and let's build this house. And on the surface level, I think most of us understand that a relationship is something that we build. But in the day-to-day moments, I see a lot of impatience in people. They expect themselves to be perfect. They expect their partner to be perfect. Anytime there's a slight disagreement, or anytime there's a little bit of unhappiness, or maybe if their partner comes home from work one day and they're a little bit grumpy, they'll see that as something wrong. They'll go, fuck, like this isn't The Notebook. Why isn't this like glamorous and exciting and perfect? You're not supposed to be grumpy at me. I'm not supposed to feel negative feelings. We're supposed to just be all sunshine and rainbows every single day. And I've done content recently where Imogen and I have sat down and talked about the fact that we don't fight anymore and we don't argue, and we haven't done for like a year or so. We just, like, why would we argue about anything? We now have the tools to communicate and to discuss and to be there for each other, and we have a lot more peace and love. We have all of the Byron Katie stuff, all of the David Hawkins stuff. We have a lot of Buddhism. But that took 5 years to build. Maybe you can say that took 4.5 years to build. That took a long time for us to build, to get to that point. And so part of this whole, I guess, journey of a relationship, and again, a lot of this applies to a casual relationship too, part of that journey is realizing that the way you get to that destination is by building it. The same thing, again, zoom out, the same thing applies to goals in general. Lots of people will look at those who have achieved things. Maybe you like the fact that I have threesomes and Imogen and I have threesomes, and we do BDSM and we talk about it, and we have this YouTube channel. We're about to hit 10,000 subscribers. Maybe that all sounds sexy and glamorous. Understand, Jesus fucking Christ, this YouTube channel took me like 4 or 5 years to build. And like, look how much content I upload. At this point, it's daily uploads. You can look at my Spotify channel as well, which is a separate podcast from here. It's the same sort of content, but additional content to what's here on the YouTube channel. I've been doing that for like 4 years. My blog, I've been doing that for like 5 years. I built that stuff day by day, at least one piece of content a day. I've averaged over one piece of content over the last like 4 or so years. That's like a lot of building. That is a metric fuck ton of building. Sit down, any of you can try this if you want to. You don't have to, but like this can be a fun experiment so you can see what's behind a YouTube video. Sit down in front of your phone or whatever, hit record, and try and be interesting for 45 minutes. Try and be interesting for 5 minutes. Try and be interesting for 1 minute. That's like a really fascinating experiment. I have a friend who's just started getting into doing his own YouTube channel, and he's done like 30 videos now, and he hasn't shown them to anyone because he's too embarrassed. He doesn't want to upload them, but he's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, is this what goes into a video? And it's like, yeah, yes. So That took a while to build. You know, the relationship with Imogen obviously took a while to build. My sex life and all the threesomes and that was like years of insecurity, years of like pushing myself to go outside and talk to women when everything inside me was screaming, run home, this is scary, don't do this. That took a lot of looking in the mirror and facing my demons. That took a lot of like slow, gradual progress. All of these things take time to build. And anyone that you might look at, you know, if you look at some YouTuber and he's got like 3 million subscribers or something, you might be envious of that and go, man, I wish I could have that. It's like, understand that guy's probably, or that girl has probably been building for like 5 to 10 years and like consistently building. And not perfectly consistent. You don't have to be perfectly consistent, but like you have to keep showing up for long enough for the results to come. Goals are something that we build. If you look at someone who has an elite body, they didn't just jump towards or jump straight to the end to the finish line where they suddenly have that dream perfect body. They built slowly, consistently over time. And so I think we sort of understand this stuff on a theoretical level. We understand this on a logical level. Yes, I get it, Andy. Building goals takes time. Yes, I get it. Building an amazing relationship takes time. And yet, the second that someone isn't perfect, the second that you're not perfect, you'll beat yourself up. You say, why did I fuck up? I shouldn't have done this. I should have known better. Why did I do this? Or if your partner or somebody else is not perfect, you go, why are they not perfect? Why are they being grumpy with me right now? Why is she being such a bitch? Why is he being such an asshole? Man, why won't he communicate? Man, why does she talk too much? Why does she nag me too much? Like we're expecting that our partners and often ourselves will be absolutely perfect. No, that's not the way this works. This is stuff that we build. And when we watch movies like The Notebook or it sounds like I have a boner for The Notebook, doesn't it? When we watch like some romance movie or some, romantic TV show, or we read a book or something, we get this idea in our head that, oh, wow, that's how it has to be. It has to feel like all these high emotions and it has to be crazy and over the top and it has to be wonderful and all of this kind of stuff. That's something that you build. And I mean, even then, like your relationship isn't necessarily always going to feel the way that it might look in a Hollywood movie. That's like one little, first of all, it's fake, obviously. We know that on a logical level, but sometimes our brain doesn't recognize that we're watching something fucking fake and manufactured, literally fake and designed. That is the point. But even if that was realistic, every single day probably isn't going to be like that in a relationship. And it probably isn't going to be like that every day in self-improvement. It's not like every day you win. Now, you win if you can look for the wins. You win if you've learned something. You win if you make a mistake. I don't believe in mistakes, but if you make a mistake and learn from it, that's a win. So you can humble yourself enough to look for those little wins and those little baby steps. But most days of your self-improvement isn't you celebrating and, achieving something big. I had a threesome today. I lost 10 pounds this week. I just got a promotion. That's not most days of self-improvement. Most days of self-improvement, if I filmed my life or I filmed the lives of any of my coaching clients or my friends who are successful, if you were a fly on the wall and you watched them most of the time, you'd be like, this is boring as fuck. I did a podcast a couple of years ago where I said my life isn't glamorous. Like my life just isn't that exciting. It isn't what you think it is. Some days it is. I love threesomes as much as the next guy or the next girl. I love making money. I love sitting here and doing all of this with all of you, but this isn't most of the time. This is like 1% of my life. Realize, I've said this before, but realize that when you're watching me, you're watching 1% of my life. Even then, it's the 1% that I choose to show you. And I try and be as open and vulnerable and transparent as I possibly can be, but you're only seeing like a small glimpse into me, the little bit that I'm choosing to show you. I'm consciously choosing to show you this little bit right here. And the same as anyone that you might look at on Instagram or on YouTube or TikTok or wherever the fucking kids hang out these days, you know what I mean? Like, you're only seeing a little snapshot into that person's life. And so if you look at them and go, wow, their life must be so glamorous. Guys do this with women as well. They'll look at a woman, especially an attractive woman, and they'll go, wow, her life must be so exciting. It must be so cool to have guys buy stuff for you. It must be so amazing to just be the hottest person in the room, and it must be so amazing to have all these options. You don't fucking know. Why don't you walk up to her and ask her and say, hey, like, I'm genuinely curious. I have all these ideas in my head of what your life must be like. What is your life like? You just approach any fucking woman out on the street and ask them. And if you do ask them, they'll tell you, I don't know, my life is just like normal, I guess. They have insecurities, they have fears, they have doubts, they have all the same stuff that every fucking human being has, or most human beings. But you've glamorized it. And so we often do that. Like I'm saying, when we look at someone on Instagram, when you look at me, when we look at someone who has something that we haven't yet achieved, when we look at someone who's done something that we would like to do, it can be very easy to romanticize that and get blindsided by the glamour of it and, get our little dicks hard or get our little pussies wet and go, oh my God, that'd be so cool to have that. And yes, obviously it would. That's why we work towards goals and make progress. But don't expect that every single moment of your life is going to be that end destination where you go, I made it, I did it today, it's amazing. And like I said, don't take that as me saying, oh, that means 99% of days suck. That is not what I said. 99% of days can be absolutely magical and beautiful if you're able to humble yourself and look at those small little moments and see the beauty in them. If you can look deep and say, you know what, today was just a normal day. I hung out on the couch with Imogen for a couple of hours. I did a podcast. I did this, blah, blah, blah. I went to the beach, did some taxes, did shit like that. What a beautiful day. Every day can be beautiful. I'm just pointing out that every day isn't necessarily going to be this big dopamine hit, peak experience, 10 out of 10. Holy crap, it's magical. It's amazing. I can't believe I did it. The way that our dopamine receptors and our serotonin receptors work anyway, you would just adapt and that would become normal. And, like every human being, we don't live at a peak experience. Now, over time, you do upgrade your happiness. Obviously, again, that's why we work towards goals so that we can be a little happier. But a big part of happiness is being okay with where you are right now, loving where you are right now, enjoying reality, facilitating with reality, all of that kind of stuff. All right. Let's talk a little bit. I've got some notes here that I did write down. Why don't we talk a little bit about some things that you can do to we'll talk about relationships because I think there's plenty of self-improvement content on this channel anyway, but let's talk specifically about relationships and some of the things that you can or that I have found beneficial to do to focus on that sort of self-improvement mindset when it comes to a relationship, making it a little bit better every week, focusing on growth, focusing on your happiness, your partner focusing on their happiness, and then coming together and adding to each other's lives. I've done many, many, many videos on this topic. I have a relationships playlist. So if you go to my channel, click on the playlist button, and there is a relationships playlist. I have done a ton of content about everything that we're going to talk about here. The relationship Imogen and we tend to view the relationship as a goal or as a project or something that you can improve over time. So plenty of content over there on that. But let's talk about some of the things that I like to do. Obviously, a weekly check-in. Imogen and I do that every single week. And so we will have a day to ourselves. We don't do any work, none of that. We take the day off and we spend the day asking each other questions to keep each other accountable and also check to see if we're both happy, both in our own lives and together. We will look at the relationship and say, what are we happy with? What are we really grateful for? What do we love about each other? What do we love about ourselves? And what would we like to do to improve the relationship and make it just a tiny bit better? What do we want to do for the next week? And then, like I said, we also talk about our own individual goals and what we're working on and how that's going. It's just a check-in. But we have done that religiously every single day for the last 4.5, 5 years. And that has just been amazing because it basically encourages that growth mindset in a relationship. You're seeing it as a project that you get to both build together. It's like a house that you build from scratch, and every single day you make it a little bit better, and then it becomes a big house, and then you add more rooms onto it, becomes a mansion, then a castle. You're building something beautiful slowly over time. So that has really helped. Rather than just sitting there passively expecting the fireworks and the romance and the big exciting payoff, but not doing anything to make that happen. So the weekly check-ins are a really nice way of building that beautiful mansion or that castle that we both want, rather than what most people do, which is let me go out and just hopefully randomly stumble upon this amazing, beautiful relationship where it's perfect and we have chemistry. That's where the idea of the one comes from, or a soulmate. You would just randomly stumble upon the one and there would be no sort of improvement or growth or progress that either of you need to do. It would just somehow magically be amazing. And it's sure, some people might find that, even then I really don't believe that, but I'm sure there's examples out there. So I'm sure some people do find that. I can believe that some people accidentally stumble upon someone who's an amazing match for them and they just have a beautiful life together. They add to each other's lives. They're happy, not always, but they're happy, for most of it. They get to the end and they're like, wow, I randomly stumbled upon you. Sure, that happens. But I don't know about all of you, but I don't want to fucking live my life like it's a lottery. I don't want to just live according to random chance. I would rather take action. I would rather build something. I'd rather guarantee, or it's not guaranteed, but like I would rather have much better odds of building something myself and with a partner than just randomly hoping that I find it. You know what I mean? Like I'm playing bingo or something and I just hope. No, fuck that. I'd rather buy 1,000 bingo cards and then guarantee that I win. That's a big part of what we talk about with playing the numbers game and improving yourself and going out there and meeting a lot of people and finding the ones that you click with and not forcing anyone to do something and forcing a relationship where maybe it isn't a good fit, blah, 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 blah. Another thing that has really helped is this book, my favorite book of all time. Well, one of my favorite books. This book here, I Need Your Love, Is That True? How to Stop Seeking Love, Approval, and Appreciation and Start Finding Them Instead. This is the best relationship book that I have ever read in my entire life. I have talked about it a trillion, bazillion, gajillion times. Highly recommend, even if you're just in casual relationships or you're dating casually. Amazing freaking book. Obviously, leveling up your own life through self-improvement, through your own goals, that can help make a relationship better. As I said, every single week, Imogen and I will go for a big walk or we'll go on a road trip or we'll do something cool. And we'll spend the whole day like talking about how our own individual lives are improving, but also how we want to improve or how we are improving the relationship together. And sometimes we'll talk about things that we're not so happy with and problems, and we'll go, how do we solve this? Like, what do we do here? Let's come up with a solution, or you come up with a solution and I'll just help you brainstorm. So yeah, that's been absolutely amazing. On top of that, I tell you what, let's give a big shout out. Go on then. Let's give a big shout out to my video course, the Play to Win Mindset video course. There is so much in here as well that applies to like relationships and improving them. So this is the video course that I'm talking about. There's so many chapters in here that are focused on self-improvement, focused on like more than anything, I would say finding the beauty in every little moment rather than expecting the big, giant, exciting payoff, which I know is funny because the image that I used for this video course is a guy with a big, exciting payoff and balloons and confetti and all of that. I know that, but there's a chapter in the book, it's one of the last chapters, about gratitude and mindfulness and being present and just enjoying what you have right in front of you. And I think, again, a lot of people in relationships are looking for the big, exciting, romantic moments, and there will be plenty of them. There can be plenty of them. I've had so many big, romantic, amazing moments with Imogen and with other girls that I've dated, but that's not the day-to-day, like it's not every single day of our relationship. Most days in our relationship, it's finding the beauty in the little moments. It's laying on the couch. There's a couch right in front of me right now. We lay on that couch and she looks up at me and I gently play with her hair and we just listen to some music. And that's all we do. We don't do anything else. We just being together. Or it's sitting in a cafe and just looking at other people and smiling and being happy to be there with her and nothing exciting happening. It's not like there's fucking fireworks going off in the sky. It's not like a big fucking crazy over-the-top sexual experience or something. It's just being present with each other. There's a really good song that I really like. It's called, let me see if I can find it. It's called Nothing by Bruno Major. And by the way, before I move on, you can grab this video course. There's a link in the description below. You can pay whatever you would like to pay, even if that's just $1. I wanted to make it available to everyone, so pay whatever you want, even if that's just $1. But this song that I'm talking about, it's called Nothing by Bruno Major, and it's just this really sweet song about doing nothing, like nothing exciting, with your girlfriend. And quite a few of his songs are quite sweet, by the way. He's little like acoustic guitar. I won't play the song, but there's lyrics here. And basically it's just, like having dumb conversations, losing track of time, just playing some Mario Kart together and I let you win. And, like, look, this is literally a shout out to the Notebook, by the way. We're not making out on a boat in the rain or in a house I painted blue. I believe in the Notebook there is a house that was painted blue. But yeah, it's just a song about like the sweet little moments, just like cuddling with each other. Like, you could be dancing on tabletops, wearing high heels. I think that's from the Notebook too. The Notebook is like the go-to movie that people reference as like an over-the-top, like, oh my God, it has to be romantic and crazy and fireworks and all of that. So this is a really sweet song that I like. Again, it's called Nothing by Bruno Major. This is probably one of the closer realistic depictions of what most people's long-term relationships are like. Again, not every long-term relationship, but the vast majority of people that I've talked to that have been together for like 30 plus years talk about this. They talk about like the small moments, the little moments. Those are kind of the things that you remember. It's not necessarily the big romantic things like he got down on one knee and proposed to me. Like you might remember that, but you're probably more likely to remember something stupid that you would never think you'd remember. Like, remember that time when we were kind of late for the bus and we had to run, but then we got caught in the rain and blah, blah, blah. And then we were like 45 minutes late. And so we went and sat in this Starbucks. And remember how like there was a pigeon that walked in the store and it jumped up on our table and we made friends with the pigeon? Remember that? And your partner would be like, yeah, I do remember that. Like, that's not fucking amazing. You're just sitting in a Starbucks when you were cold. But those are the things that you kind of remember, or at least people that I talk to remember. And one of my favorite things that I've ever read, one of my favorite articles, is by Mark Manson. You can just Google Mark Manson, 1,500 people. Just search for that. Just search for 1,500 and Mark Manson, and you'll find this article. 1,500 people give all the relationship advice you'll ever need. And what he did is he contacted his entire email newsletter list, which is like, I don't even know. This guy has probably like 1 million people on his list or something. He's like world famous. He's a guy who wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and a few other books like that. And he basically contacted his entire email newsletter list and said, any of you that have been in a relationship, I think he said for like 10 years. So if you've been happily married for 10 plus years and you're still happy, what lessons would you pass down to others if you could? What is working for you and your partner? And also to anyone who's divorced, what didn't work? And so 1,500 people got back to him. And he said, many of whom sent replies measured in pages, not paragraphs. Took weeks to go through it all. But here's like what I found. And lots of the same thing came up over and over again. And some of probably the biggest, so again, you can just read this. But the biggest one that came up a lot was like, see this? Have realistic expectations about relationships and romance. You are absolutely not going to be gaga over each other every single day for the rest of your lives. And all this happily ever after bullshit is just setting people up for failure. So you can see why I like this article. And I have asked my mother, because my parents are still together and they're still pretty happy and they've been together for like, I don't know, 40 or something years. I think coming up on 50 years. Yeah, I think it'd be coming up on 50 years, honestly. I think, yeah, 40 or 50 years. And my grandparents were together for, I think they were together for something fucking insane, like 70 years or something before my grandmother died. Anyway, I've asked all of them and I've asked so many family members. I have a lot of family members that, you know, are married for a really long time and still pretty happy. Time and time again, they echo the shit that's in this article and the stuff that I've seen in my own 6-year relationship with Imogen. And one of the biggest ones that comes up, and I think my mother said it perfectly, is you won't always like each other, and that's okay. You know, you might have a period where you're grumpy for a while, or he's kind of being an asshole for a few weeks because he's angry that his boss fired him or some shit, or he goes through a depression. My dad went through a depression for like a year and a half, and he wasn't particularly nice during that depression. He's just really painful, especially to my mother. He really wasn't nice. He was doing his best. I don't expect depressed people to be kind. I certainly was not depressed in the years when I certainly was not kind in the years when I was depressed. So he was doing his best, but he wasn't very pleasant to be around. But my mother was able to be okay with that and go, yeah, he's being kind of a prick right now. That's okay. He's going to be a prick for a year and a half. Fine. I will focus on my own goals, my own friends, my own life. And if he wants to be grumpy, then cool. Like, what am I going to do about it? I can be there for him. And she was. And she gently guided him towards counseling. And she contacted a couple of friends for like, not an intervention, but she contacted a couple of his friends and was like, he's really depressed. Would you like take him out fishing or something? And they did that. And that seemed to help a little bit. But this idea that you're just constantly always going to be like gaga, as he phrases it. I love that word, like going gaga over each other. Yeah, exactly this. And then people think that relationship is broken because it's not fireworks and sunshine and rainbows and it's amazing. And again, I wouldn't encourage you to be in a relationship where you're deeply unhappy, but that's where this book, I Need Your Love, Is That True, comes in. It's basically a book on how to have your own independence, which is what Imogen and I do. So if she's grumpy for months, which has happened, she's been depressed for months when we first moved here during lockdowns and all of that. And Jesus mother effing C, I was not a kind person during the start of lockdowns for the first like year. I was like all the peace and love and hippie Andy that you see. Oh my God. Like this is me happy now. But 2 years ago, before I had like, or 3 years ago, before 4 years ago now, my God, how time flies. So in 2020, before I had Byron Katie, you know, this woman that you see on screen, before I had David Hawkins, before I had my spiritual coach Keith, before I had any peace and happiness and Buddhism stuff and all the religious books I read and all the Christian mysticism and all of that kind of stuff that I've read, before all of that, 4 years ago, I was a very angry little boy. Like you lock Andy up for several years and the world goes kind of crazy. I was not a happy boy. Now I would be able to handle it because now I have all these beautiful tools and these ways of coping and stuff like that, these ways of finding the good in something like a lockdown. But at the time, I didn't have any of this shit. So I was very angry. And Imogen was able to take a step back and go, fine, this relationship isn't great right now. He's very angry at the world, and I understand that. I'm angry at the world too, and he understands that. Okay, we won't put this pressure on ourselves that it has to be sunshine and rainbows and all of that. So, yeah, I really like this article. Again, you can just search for Mark Manson 1,500 people, and you'll find the article, and it's just a really nice summary, I think, of sort of the things or the commonalities that people who are in happy relationships that have been together for a long enough period of time, which 10 years or more is, is pretty decent. And there are a lot of people that replied that had been together for like 50 years or so, and he sort of picks some of them out and reads them. But you get to see the commonalities. I guess you could say the strategies or the mindsets or the philosophies that are most likely to deliver you a happy, healthy, long-term relationship. That's how I'd summarize this article. It's a really fucking good article. And I'm going to do some more content on this because I've got like a 10-part series that I might do on advice that my mother gave me for relationships because it's really good shit. It's like ridiculously good stuff. And most of it's in here. And I showed her this and she's like, yeah, I agree with everything in here. This is like what I've seen as well. So this is just such a good article. Something else that comes in is respect. Yeah, here you go. So most important factor in a relationship seems to be respect, which is what you build if you do something like a weekly accountability check-in with your partner. If you have your own goals and they have their goals, they have their own independence and you have yours, then you come to respect them. That's a really big part of this book too, by the way. This book is like how to build your own self-love and self-respect, and then your partner can do it too. And if they don't want to, that's fine. They can do whatever the fuck they want, but yeah, this really helps. Actually, I tell you another really good book is How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown. It's very similar, basically. So this book here, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. I love this book just as much as I love the Byron Katie book. They're both very similar. So either of those two are great relationship books. And funnily enough, you'll notice that every time I talk about relationships, like in my podcast, my playlist on YouTube here, the relationship playlist, you'll hear me talk about independence a lot. I bet if I search for the word, look, honesty and independence, always keep your independence. I talk a lot about independence because that just seems to be the quickest way to build your own self-respect and your partner respect you as well. And then you get that beautiful long-term relationship. And look, I did do a video about the Notebook. I thought I did. Love is not what you see in the movies. Yeah, I talk about the Notebook. That is a screenshot from the Notebook where they're in the rain and they fucking hate each other, but they just come together and they're like, I fucking hate you, but I love you. And it's so like powerful. It's like 50 Shades of Grey, if any of you have watched that, or Twilight, like people make that meme, still a better love story than Twilight. That's how most relationships are covered in like media, in books and TV and romance, Hollywood movies and shit like that. So yeah, I really recommend this article. I think those are the main three things that he talks about. Yeah, talk openly about everything, especially the stuff that hurts. This is why I talk about honesty and just being vulnerable and just sharing everything. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. But again, this article is traits that seem to come up a lot in people who are in a long-term happy relationship. Here you go. This is exactly what I said. A healthy relationship means two healthy individuals. Yes, have your independence. Understand that it is up to you to make yourself happy. It is not the job of your spouse. Yeah, how many fucking times have you guys and girls heard me say that? Which again is the point of this book. This book is literally that. It's like, why are you putting the burden of your happiness on your partner? And I've done so much content, again, all of it in this relationships playlist where I'm like, it's up to you to make yourself happy. Like, if you want to be happy, you fucking do it. Like, that's not your partner's job. That's your job. So yeah, I really like this article. Give each other space. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Imogen and I have done content on that. Yeah, like giving space. The the best thing that we do whenever one of us is grumpy, we'll phrase it like this. We'll say, "Look, I don't have a lot to give right now." And we just need to say that sentence. I mean, at this point, both of us know it now. We've been together for long enough to just know it anyway. But that sentence helped us so much in the first few years when we'd be grumpy and we would be expecting the other person to spend time with us or to do something cool with us. And we get disappointed if they didn't want to. And so the line that helped us the most was, "Look, I just don't have a lot to give right now." And we'd be like, okay, that's reasonable. Like sometimes I don't have a lot to give too. And that took us a little while to be okay with that line because the first few times we said it to each other, it's like, what do you mean you don't have anything to give? Like, you're supposed to spend time with me, because we had all these bullshit rules like most people do in relationships. You know, you're supposed to make me happy. And so we didn't always take it well. But after a year or two of saying it, we were like, yeah, I understand what that means now. So all of this is to say you don't have to be perfect. You kind of like have progress, not perfection. This here is one of the things that my mother told me as well when I asked for advice. You and your partner will grow and change in unexpected ways. Embrace it. That is literally what my mother said. She was like, you will not be the same people 10 years into the relationship that you were at the start. And you can either fight against that and argue and be like, they're changing, oh my God. And you can try and like keep them the same, which is denying their growth. You don't like who you are when you do that, and they don't like you when you try and do that. Like, you won't like yourself if you try and restrict your partner from growth and from evolving and from doing what they want. Which, again, a book that really helps with this mindset is this one, because this book is a really good way of learning abundance mentality or outcome independence or non-neediness, you know, not being so attached that you need your partner to never change and to make you happy and to be the same and to be there for you all the time. This book is a really good way of letting go of all of that and saying, why do I need my partner to make me happy? Why can't I make myself be happy? Why can't I just be a whole, complete person? And then my partner is a beautiful bonus, because then I can appreciate them. You will appreciate your partner so much more if you see them as a bonus rather than something you need. Because if it's something you need, like if you believe it's something you need, like I need my partner, I need them for happiness, I need love so bad. If you believe that, the second anything threatens to take that away, even if it's the person themselves, even if they're like, hey, for the next week I'm busy with work, I want to just sort of have a bit of time to myself, so I'll see you a couple of times, but I'm busy. Is that cool? You will feel that as a threat. You'll be like, no, I need love. I need you. I need time with you. What about what I want? And that's where you see people do things like they manipulate their partner, or they become like, they whip them, you know? They're like, why are you hanging out with your friends so much? Like, because they believe they need them there, and that their partner can't go and spend time with their friends because then they'll be they themselves will be unhappy. So yeah, that's a big one. Man, I love this article. I've read this article so much. Get good at fighting. I might do a video on this because I did a video recently where I said, I don't believe that you need to fight. Now, we discuss, but yeah. So I'm not 100% on board with this one. But I think what he's saying here is get better. See, I would just phrase this as like, you don't have to fight. But I love the idea of like improve your, I don't know. I'd almost say like improve your communication skills, improve your confrontation skills. Like, I'll be very honest. Imogen and I have talked about this in content. The first couple of years of our relationship, yeah, we fought, we argued like every fucking couple does, but it just felt so unbelievably shit. Especially because I made the decision very early on that I never wanted us to have makeup sex. And the reason, maybe we'll do a piece of content about this if any of you are interested, but the reason for that was, what happens if you have makeup sex after a fight? You get a big dopamine hit. You feel amazing together. You get all the oxytocin. You're literally training yourself through a Pavlovian response like a dog. You're training yourself, oh, when we fight, we then have makeup sex. So if we fight, that feels good afterwards. Oh, we should fight more. So then we feel amazing in the after, like we get to have this amazing, passionate sex. That's basically the entire fucking plot of the movie The Notebook, by the way, the one that I keep referencing. It's two people that are shit for each other. I mean, they're probably great for each other, aren't they, if they fight all the time and they both want that, but because they're both doing what they want, but they both fight a lot. There's a lot of drama and fight and combat in the relationship. So they fight all the time, then they have makeup sex, and then they fight, then they have makeup sex. Same plot as like 50 Shades of Grey, same plot as Twilight, same plot as like a lot of like romance. TV shows and movies and books and stuff. But I personally do not believe that you have to fight. And a book that advocates for the same thing as I Need Your Love, Is That True? And the one that I mentioned a second ago, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. Another person, David Hawkins. I could list you like 100 people that believe you don't have to fight. You can if you want to. You're allowed to fight. You're allowed to do whatever you both want. And Imogen and I fought for many years. But we believed, or because it felt so, I didn't like the way that it felt to fight. I didn't like the way that it felt to be that emotional and angry and irrational and all of that. And so I very much drew a line in the sand. And so did she, where we both said, look, eventually one day, let's have this pipe dream where one day we never fight anymore. And if we happen to have a fight after that, fine, it's not the end of the world. But let's dream big. Is there a way we could not argue and not fight anymore? Could we ever just discuss everything and be rational, calm, beautiful, happy, Buddhist Zen monks? Is that possible? And we thought about it and it's like, well, surely there's people out there that don't fight in relationships. Surely there's people that are peaceful, Buddhist monks and people like that. Can't we just improve at our own stoicism, our own independence, all of that stuff? And yes, you can. These are just things you level up. So that Mark Manson isn't quite saying that you have to fight. That's not really what this is, but he's basically saying get better at your get better at your relationship skills. And I guess it does say here you have to fight. I really don't agree with that. You really don't. Now, what I would say is you might have to disagree. Like, yes, you might have to challenge each other. Otherwise, you're both just agreeing with each other all the time. You're never actually saying what you want. But you can do that in a very constructive, healthy, happy, peaceful, calm, loving way where you say, oh, I see your viewpoint. Well, here's my viewpoint. I actually think this. And then the person can go, oh, yeah, I can see how you believe that. Yeah, that makes sense. I personally don't believe that. But if I was you, I'd believe what you believe. Yeah, that makes sense. So books that help with this, like I said, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World, I Need Your Love, Is That True? All of Byron Katie's other books help as well, by the way, especially like Loving What Is. My video course, I talk a lot in here about these kind of concepts of like conflict resolution and stoicism and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't believe that you have to fight. You can if you want to, but I don't want to fight. And so now Imogen and I don't fight. In other words, a better way of phrasing that is we got really good at empathy. We got really good at compassion, at self-love, at stoicism, at letting go. All of the stuff, I'm going to keep bringing it up, but all the stuff I put in the Play to Win video course, like literally the video course is there as like me dumping. It's a brain dump of everything that's in my head over the last like 15 years, everything that seems to work pretty well for me. And yeah, you don't have to fight. Get good at forgiveness. Fuck yeah. Realize though, here's a level above this. Realize though that there's never anything really to forgive. And if you want more concepts about that, I Need Your Love, Is That True? Her other books like Loving What Is, and another really good book. I don't know how familiar any of you are with Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been reading a bunch from a guy called Bill W., who's one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. And where's his book? It's not The Language of the Heart. Here you go. As Bill Sees It. I fucking love this book. This is such an amazing book. Look at the ratings on this bitch too. Like 4.8 stars, 1,266 reviews. It's a really, 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 really good book. Really fucking love this book. He has the same sort of mindset, by the way. Bill W., and you can just grab this book. You don't even have to be interested in Alcoholics Anonymous. This book is like as good as some of the Byron Katie books and stuff like that I talk about. But one of his mindsets, exactly the same sort of mindset. He's like, you don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. You don't have to see it as forgiving other people. There wasn't really anything to forgive. They were just doing the best they could. They were doing what they wanted to do. And just because it's different from what I wanted, that doesn't mean what they're doing is right or wrong, or that they wronged me, or that they fucked me over, or any of that. They were just doing what they wanted to do. I did a video. Let me see if I can find it. This one here at the top, it's called I Broke All the Rules and It Made Me a Success. And in this video, I talk about how everybody has a different rule book. People go through life with their own rule book, their own set of rules and things they like to do, and preferences and likes and dislikes. Basically, how they like to live their life. And everybody else is going to have a slightly different rule book to you or to us. That doesn't mean what they're doing is wrong, or that they should do something else, or that they're bad, or that they're fucking us over, or any of that. They're living life according to their own set of principles and their own learned behaviors and patterns of thought and philosophies and all of that. When you can start thinking in terms of this, and again, I have so much of this shit in the Play to Win video course. When you can start thinking in terms of that, other people are just different from me. They're not right or wrong. Then you get to a point where you're like, wait, there's nothing even to forgive. They were just doing the best that they could at that point in time. It was Seneca, I believe it was Seneca, who said that. Every man does what he believes to be the good. As in every moment, nobody's trying to be bad, so to speak. Everybody is doing what they believe is good for them in that moment. Everybody's doing what they want. It's why you'll always hear me say, what do you want? Whenever someone comes to me and says, oh, Andy, what should I do? Or this person says I should do this. I'll go, I don't give a fuck about what should be done. What do you want? That's how I've set up my coaching. That's how I set up this content. I will ask people, what do you want? I won't sit there and tell you what to do because that's not up to me. It depends on what you want. So yeah, all of this is blah, 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 blah. How funny is that? That guy's name is Bill. I actually thought that was Bill W., you know, this guy here that I was talking about. That tripped me out for a second, Bill. It's just some random guy saying Bill. Yeah, I agree with this. In marriage, there is no such thing as winning an argument. I can't remember the exact quote, so I'm going to butcher it. But it's basically something like, in an argument, there is no winner. I think it was David Hawkins that said it. Something like, in an argument, there is no winner, because the loser is just left with like hatred and resentment and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll try and fuck you over in the future and they'll try and get one back on you. And that's especially apparent in marriage. So I've talked about this a million times, but I have a concept in relationships and dating and sex, even casual sex, friendships, business relationships, everything, where I say, treat the other person like they're on your team. It's you and them together on the same team. It's not you versus them. And if you can view a marriage as, hey, we're both on the same team here, even in the moments where your brain or your ego is telling you, they're fucking me over. Why are they being such a bitch right now? If you can still take a step back and say, no, this person entered this relationship or helped build this relationship with me because they want to be happy and they would like me to be happy too. We're on the same team. Even if right now we both can't see that and it seems like we're butting heads and we're against each other, no, we are actually on the same team. We want the same thing, which is we both want to be happy, we want to be loved, and we want to be understood. That's what every human being wants, to be loved, to be happy, and to be understood. And right now I feel like they're the enemy, but why would the enemy be in a relationship with me? So maybe it's just my anger that's telling me they're the enemy. So yeah, I love these kind of quotes. I think that's all that's in here. Is there a 10th one? I can't remember. The little things add up to big things. Yeah, this is what, yeah. This is why I talk about baby steps, ladies and gentlemen. So if you spend every single week just doing little things for your partner or little things for yourself, I would say do little things for yourself and then you'll have a lot more to give to your partner as well. But if you just spend every day doing a tiny little bit, which is why I say focus on baby steps, focus on progress, not perfection. Focus on improving 0.1% every week. Focus on building something. Focus on making it just a little bit better. If you can focus on that, it really adds up, especially in a relationship where we're talking about years. And I do the same in business. I do the same with all my goals. I try and think like 10 years in the future. And yes, you don't have to like make a commitment to someone that you're dating or having sex with and say like, all right, we got to be together for 10 years. No. But like, think in terms of long term. Think, okay, if I just do this one kind deed for this other person or for a stranger on the street or whatever, or for myself in this moment, it might not add up to a lot right now. It's not going to change the world if you give your partner a kiss on the forehead and say, you're doing a good job. Or if you say to your partner, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being in this relationship. I love having you here. That won't change the entire world in that moment, but do that every day or do that a couple of times a week or however often you want to do it, but do it enough and it adds up. And then you start to feel like, wow, my partner really fucking appreciates me. Why? Because I told them 500 days in a row, hey, I appreciate you. And then after 300 days, they started getting this strong feeling of like, wow, my partner really appreciates me because they just do little teeny tiny little things. So yeah, I really love that one. Again, you can read this article. Wow, there is more. Maybe we won't keep. I probably could have done a whole video on this. Yeah, we'll cut this off. Otherwise, this will go forever. But you can find this article by searching for 1500 Mark Manson. But yeah, in general, I am very grateful for the little moments with Imogen. I'm grateful that she's been here for the last 6 years, building something beautiful with me. I'm grateful for all the little things that we do together. I am very grateful that we've aimed for progress and not perfection. I'm very grateful to all of you too. It feels absolutely amazing that we're getting closer. We are getting close to 10,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 9,600 as I record this. So I don't know, maybe we'll do something to celebrate, but I'm probably going to cry if I'm honest, probably going to go into my fucking room and have a little cry. Not right now, but when I hit 10K, I'll probably cry. Many years ago, many years ago, I had a big dream to be a YouTuber, but I never thought that it would be one of those things that was possible. It was just like a fantasy. You know, I was like, I'd love to be a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber. I just find that so cool. I've had so much interest in YouTube basically since the platform was, you know, made. I think it was made in like 2004 or something. I don't remember. But ever since YouTube first came, I was just so fascinated by it. And I thought it would be so cool to be a YouTuber or to be on YouTube. But I never thought that that would be possible. And when I first started, and we had literally 2 subscribers, I think it was like my girlfriend and like one of my friends. And then I think I had a duplicate account or something. I don't even know. And like I subscribed. I don't remember. But there was like 2 or 3 people. And I was like, man, imagine if I got to 100 subscribers. And when I got to 100, I was like, man, do you know what? Like, I feel like if I ever got to 10,000, that would mean that like I made it, so to speak. That would be like I'm an official YouTuber. You know, it's not a couple thousand, it's like 10,000. You've broken the 5-digit barrier. And then from there, it wouldn't be that difficult to get to 100,000. It would just be a process of continuing to do what you're doing, evolve every day, try and do it a little better, try and improve every little tiny aspect that you possibly can, make better content, help more people, blah, blah, blah. You're at 100,000. And then from there, who fucking knows? But 10,000 always felt like the first. It was an arbitrary number, but for me, it was something where I could say, okay, that's a legit YouTuber. And that's just an arbitrary number, but that's what it felt like for me. And I never, ever, ever thought that that would be possible. I thought that's like, why would 10,000 people click a little subscribe button? Especially when, you know, it's funny. I never really ever say subscribe. I never say hit the like button. I just, if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. If you don't want to, then don't. But, you know, I guess what I'm saying in a very roundabout way is it feels very weird. It feels very surreal. And I'm incredibly grateful because I really didn't, this is yet another thing that I really didn't think would be possible. I really didn't think that this was ever even something that's possible. I'm sure like many of you right now, if you don't have a YouTube channel, stop and think about just randomly getting to 10,000 subscribers. Right now, from where you are right now, you're probably like, bro, I don't even know how I do videos, let alone like hundreds or thousands of videos. And then fucking how would I deal with comments and how would I do the content? How would I edit it? How would I even keep people's interest? How would I help them? I can't even fathom how I would do any of that, let alone get to 10,000 subscribers. That's how I felt at the start. And it really has just been a process of, I mean, funnily enough, it's related to this video. It's just been a process of showing up every day and doing a tiny little bit and improving a tiny little bit. That's all my relationship has ever been with Imogen as well. It's all my sex life has been. It's all my finances have ever been. Every goal that I've achieved. It's how I got decent at photography. It's how I've done, you know, at this point, like 1,500 bits of content. It was how I wrote the massive Tinder guide, how I made the Play to Win video course that I keep mentioning. All of this shit, all the people that I coached, it's just been show up every day and do a tiny little bit. That's it. You know, it's like the last thing that we saw in that Mark Manson article. It's just the little things add up over time. It's why I focus on baby steps. It's why I say you don't have to be this amazing human being if you want to change your life or do something fucking cool. And to me, 10,000 subscribers is honestly probably one of the coolest things that I'll ever do in my life. It's not the threesomes. It's not the foursomes that I've had, you know, with 3 women. It's not, I mean, I'm very grateful for Imogen and everything that we've built together, but honestly, probably just from like a little kid standpoint, you know, like a little kid that gets excited. The little kid inside of me is the most excited to hit 10,000 subscribers that I think I've been of any goal I've ever done. Even like walking up to women and hitting on them, you know, like I said, building my relationship with Imogen, falling in love with her. Like, this is probably the one that makes me the most giddy like a little kid. And so I'm genuinely very excited. I'm genuinely very grateful. I'm still tripping balls. It feels like it's happened quicker than I was ready for, even though when you look at it, it's like, bro, it's been 4 fucking years of you doing like fucking, for most of that, daily content. Like, Jesus Christ, like it's been a long time. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to all of you. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, not much more to say than that, but I appreciate you. Let's I don't even know. Let's set a goal of 100,000 after that, I guess. But man, I'm just fucking glad to get to 10,000. I don't even know what the next goal is. I'm just sort of happy to be here. And that's a pretty decent metaphor for a happy relationship. Well, that's a pretty decent recipe for a happy relationship. You know, you have some goals, you achieve them, but really you're just happy to keep showing up every day and you're just happy to be there and happy for that person to be there too. Whatever your goals might be, whether that's money, relationships, sex and dating, fitness, health, friendships, whatever, we are here to help you make those beautiful goals come to life. Ed did it. Taylor did it. Harry did it. None of them are special. If you're listening to this, you know you're capable of more than you're currently giving. You already want something more than what everybody else around you seems to be content with. You want to achieve more, be more, give more to the world. You know it, and I know it. You're destined for something beautiful. Click the link to the coaching in the description below, and let us help you get there. Happiness starts today.